Ah yes, the harem genre. It has spread some of the best and some of the worst of anime. I myself am quite the connoisseur of trashy rom-com dumpster fires. It doesn't have to be a harem, but it just so happens that many harem anime are quite commonly dumpster fires. By the way, if you have trashy romance manga or anime recommendations, let me know. I eat that stuff up like it's breakfast. Anyway, just like any regular functioning member of society, I've got one main problem with harem anime. No, I don't care that they're unrealistic. No, I don't care about the lackluster writing. No, my biggest problem with harem anime is that there aren't enough women. The average harem anime only has like, what, 5 girls maybe? But what if there were 100? That's right, my fellow degenerates. We're talking about a manga called The 100 Girlfriends That Really Love You. The series is written by Rikito Nakamura and illustrated by Yukiko Nozawa. As the title suggests, by the end of the story, Rentaro is supposed to have 100 girlfriends. Now, this is the final form of harem manga. Okay, I know a lot of people might think this series is cringe, but hear me out for a second. It's actually one of the funniest comedies I've ever read, and that's not a title I hand out willy-nilly. I've seen masterpieces like Grand Blue and Kaguya-sama, but nothing got me laughing out loud more than 100 Girlfriends. So first of all, what is the story about? Well, you have this guy named Rentaro Aijo who has been rejected 100 times throughout his life. One day, after praying to the god of a temple, he realizes he has been blessed a little too much. The god made an eensy-weensy error. You see, people in this world are usually only supposed to have one soulmate, but Rentaro has 100. When Rentaro goes to school, he bumps into someone, you know, the typical romance trope, but this time it's 2 girls. And when Rentaro makes eye contact with the both of them, a shock runs through his mind, the telltale sign that he's found 2 of his soulmates, Hakari Hanazono and Karane Inda. Later, Rentaro visits the shrine again and finds out if he doesn't reciprocate his soulmate's love, they will straight up die. Naturally, Rentaro is torn. He doesn't want to cheat, but he kinda has no choice. And so he convinces Hakari and Karane to enter a polyamorous relationship with him. Thus begins Rentaro's misadventures as he attempts to date 100 girls at the same time. Yes, that sounds absolutely stupid, but as a brain-rotted individual, I can't really read vanilla romance manga anymore. I need that really crazy twist to get me hooked. 100 Girlfriends is a hyper-meta, hyper-self-aware series, but I wouldn't quite call it a deconstruction of the harem genre. Instead, it's a natural evolution. The final form, as I mentioned earlier. Basically, the show asks, what happens if you take all the regular rom-com anime tropes and take them to the extreme? No matter what type of girl you're into, this series has it all. You like tsunderes? Of course it's got a tsundere. You like someone a little bit dirty-minded? Yeah, it's got one of those too. You like shy girls? Got it covered. You like kuderes? Check. You like smart scientist girls? Maybe you prefer MILFs. Well, it's only natural to have one of those. Are you into girls with big appetites? Are you into maids? Are you into the sporty type? Everyone is here. Is the unequivocal Smash Bros Ultimate of harem anime. Well, Mr. Lolly, you might be asking, wouldn't it be difficult to differentiate between all the girls? Wouldn't some of them get less screen time than others? Nope. They all get their turns in the spotlight. Surprisingly, no heroine is left behind, and there are no losers in this story. To be fair though, it's valid to have some reservations about the series. When I first read the manga, I thought it would be pretty messy, but I was surprised to see how well every character is balanced within the story. It's quite commendable writing, actually. When the manga starts off, you get a short, rapid-fire round as the main character quickly gets 5 girlfriends. From there, the series slows down a little bit to give each new member a more fleshed-out arc. Each of these arcs also serves as ways to help develop the previous girls as well. In this way, it feels much more rewarding when the harem levels up. Of course, having so many characters, it's a given that some of them end up being a little bit one-note, but the series tries its hardest to make them all entertaining at the very least. Now, earlier, I mentioned The 100 Girlfriends is one of the funniest pieces of fiction I've ever seen, and it's because of one main thing: the art of the page turn. You see, when you're reading a novel or a script, you have commas, periods, and stuff to serve as punctuation, natural breaks within the flow. It's very much up to the author how much they want to pace their writing. They can have long, extended sentences to slow down the pacing, or they can have many quick sentences to speed up the scene. This writing technique isn't a set rule, but it shows how writers can set their own pacing in novels. With manga though, its quote-unquote punctuation is much more rigid. You can kind of equate the end of a panel sequence to a period, but the real kicker is the page turn. In novels, page turns aren't very significant, but in a visual medium like manga, the ability to conceal information is highly valuable. When the reader is presented with a page, it's possible to see everything right off the bat. Important reveals could be noticed earlier than they were supposed to be shown. With a novel, you can really only see the words you're reading. It's the same thing with anime and movies where you can only see the scene in front of you. And so it takes a certain expertise to be able to consistently utilize the page turn in manga. It often takes meticulous planning to make sure the panels flow naturally without being forced. When done well, you won't really notice all the preparation that helped make that 2-page spread so much more amazing. Artists can use the page turn to create a jump scare in horror manga, but in comedy manga, the page turn serves to conceal the punchline. And let me tell you, 100 Girlfriends has some of the most well-timed and some of the most insane punchlines. You see, the manga starts off pretty tame, actually. It's just your general rom-com, but you get hints of some underlying insanity with the writer. Shit finally hits the fan when a character's hair literally gulfs the entirety of Earth, and the main characters must then prevent the end of the world. After that point, I think the writers stopped caring about making an actual story, which made the manga 100 times more entertaining. You get banger chapters, such as the one dedicated to advertising the merch. You get a chapter where the main character literally becomes an assistant for the manga artist, and you get spreads like this. Yes, each of those words are meaningful. It's not just gibberish. It's actually quite wholesome, seeing how much Rentaro cares about his girlfriends. In most other harem manga, the main character is just some dense freak, but Rentaro is an actual Chad that's willing to do anything for the people he loves, including, doing this to himself, just so he could stop a harmful conflict between two of his girlfriends. Yes, this manga nails the comedy part of a rom-com, but it also writes the romance quite well. It's not realistic, mind you, but it's surprisingly heartwarming and cute. It's amazing how likable and entertaining each of the characters are. But there are some caveats. You see, the series has a few questionable writing decisions, I should say. For example, Kusuri Yakuzen, the scientist girl, is supposed to be 18, but when she tried using an immortality serum on herself, it turned her back to an 8-year-old. Don't think about that one too hard. The only time she returns to normal is when she uses a neutralization drug, which is so annoying because of how fine her adult form is. The main character also dates one of his girlfriend's moms. Now, MILFs are great and all, but Rentaro is still a first year in high school. But all this is baby level stuff because there's an arc later in the manga when Rentaro dates Chiyo-in, his cousin, who also started middle school. I like the idea of exploring more of Rentaro's blood-related family to expand the world building, but I kept denying to myself the fact that the incest arc was bound to happen. It's actually not as insane as some of the stuff that happened earlier in the story, relatively, but like most people, I'm not the biggest fan of incest. I know, it's a hot take, incest is wincest and all that, but you know, Chiyo's also quite young. But if you ignore the questionable stuff, her character is actually quite interesting. She's not just some generic Oni-chan loving character, she tries to act mature for her age, developing OCD because of everyone's expectations, but she's still a kid at heart. And so Rentaro helps her realize she shouldn't rush to grow up and act so controlling. It's okay to let out your true feelings as a kid. Chiyo's arc in and of itself isn't that bad. Besides, it's legal to marry your cousin in Japan. The writer's obviously aware of the incest technicalities, but the manga isn't the type to take itself seriously. I'm just glad the manga still manages to write a captivating story despite Chiyo being who she is. In a genre filled with some of the tropiest characters, 100 Girlfriends unironically writes some genuinely interesting and entertaining people. While it's no award-winning story, 100 Girlfriends is sure to bring a smile to your face. If you don't feel like reading ahead in the manga, lucky for you, the anime is coming out really soon. For me, at least, 100 Girlfriends will go down as one of the funniest things I've ever read. It's chock full of the most unexpected page turns that have actually left me in pain from how hard they made me laugh. Right now, Rentaro has like 20-something girlfriends, and each character is expertly balanced within the story, which is something truly praiseworthy. And before you say anything, no, I'm not huffing copium, the story's pretty good. And I don't read rom-com manga because I've been capable of getting a girlfriend. In fact, I'm not single, I'm just dating myself. Nah, just kidding, I'm already married to Kafka. Bro, Tyler, you want a cameo in this? You can say anything as long as it's not a slur. Come on. Come on. Say something, bro. Say something. Not bad, bro. My roommate is super shy.
I'm not your roommate. You kidnapped me. I want to leave.